Hello. In this video, I'm going to be showing you a game which highlights the importance of development, controlling the center, and tempi in the opening, and how disobeying some of these classical chess principles and rules for how you should go about your opening can lead to catastrophic results. In this game, I was playing with the black pieces. It was a tournament game over the board, 30 minutes, I believe plus no increment or delay, and the game opened with c4. The opening isn't too important for this, but I mean, if you want to, pay attention to the opening, try it out for yourself, feel free to. So I played a reverse Sicilian. I went e5. Like if you went e4, c5, it's just the opposite, c4, e5. So he went g3, and I could play like knight c6, g6 systems, like a closed Sicilian, which I sometimes play. I could play like knight of 6, d5, like go for an open Sicilian type thing, but instead I went with this c6 thing, which kind of reflects an alapin. One drawback of this is that it blocks this knight c6 square, and that's important because of what my opponent actually played in the game, which is d4. What d4 does is it strikes my center, and after takes, I can't really kick this queen out, right? Because I've put a pawn on c6. My knight can't go there because this guy's already gone there. And so this queen can kind of just live here until it gets booted around, like after I go knight of 6, d5, knight here and there. It's the only way I can really boot this queen out, otherwise it's just going to be living on d4. So I continue with my development, knight of 6. He went bishop g2, I go d5, and some of you might be wondering, okay, what if he takes and I get an isolated pawn? Now, yes, this pawn is going to be weak, the classic IQP, and he's got this nice bishop spying the pawn. He can go knight here. He can maybe go knight here and here, or knight here and here. An idea you sometimes see in like the Panov, Karl Khan. And so I'm actually fine with this here because it opens up the c6 square, so now I can use my knight to attack the queen, gain a tempo, and get active development. Potentially bishop here, bishop f5, castles. I can bring the rook to the open file. The queen has all these squares, but none of that happened in the game. And if we go back, he just played knight c3 developing, pressuring this. Logical move. I went bishop e6 just to overprotect it, and he went bishop g5. This is just a clean giving up of a pawn. This bishop's completely blunted on the diagonal, not much else to it, so I could have taken that, but I didn't feel like wasting time in the opening capturing a free pawn, even though it was a completely justified and correct decision, according to the engine. Instead I went with bishop e7. It's not the worst, but I mean, we just go to a normal position. I've lost my opportunity to seize the pawn and just try and convert it. So he plays c takes d5, takes, and although now it looks like I have a really weak pawn with a lot of pressure, I have a lot of defense for this too. This is not a pin, so this knight's actually participating in this. And it looks like maybe he can take and win something, but remember there's always going to be some sort of queen a5 check, so he can't really do that. This kind of helps me develop my pieces because it allows knight c6. So right now, what white has to do is try and get the queen out on his own. So a move like bishop takes, and then some sort of queen move, like maybe queen a4 check or queen b4 is fine. And basically the idea is that, I mean, okay, maybe queen b4 walks into knight c6, so maybe check. And probably after knight c6, he can just continue developing with knight f3, and maybe look for e3 to prevent this. Hop a knight to d4, of course, I mean, if he tries to do that now. And just slowly build up against this. He wants to try and get castled fast so that he doesn't run into any trouble. However, the seemingly natural looking move, e4, just trying to open things up because okay, my king is not castled, so maybe you could try and get these pieces into the game somehow, right? This is not that good. So first of all, your king is in the center too, and I'm one move away from castling. I can just castle this turn if I wanted. Of course, I'm not going to do that. There's better moves, but there's clearly a better move, which I'm pretty sure most of you are looking at now. It's knight c6. This is the best move, and it grants a significant advantage to black. As you can see, it's -1. This is not what white wants, and it's because, look, if you noticed a few moves ago, here, it looked like white was crushing with, not crushing, but like he had a small development advantage of like, I had 3 pieces out, but he had 4, and it's his turn. He could get a 5th out, and like my compensation for that was like this nice central control. I have e4 under control, so he can't really put a pawn in the center. He's only got c4 as a pawn, like controlling the squares, right? He hasn't actually committed any pawns to the center yet. But if you look now, this move and this move, e4, while it looks like a good central break, because for example, if I just take this, I mean, you can try and win the pawn back with like takes, and queen takes this, and maybe you have some pressure, you have pressure there, you could, like, you've got nice things. I don't even have to take that. I can just go knight c6, and now I've gained a crucial tempo, and this pawn is incredibly weak in the center. It's under pressure to this piece, and your king is stuck here. That's another thing. And even though that doesn't look too dangerous now, once I take on e4 and break open the position, the weakness of the white king will become much more evident, as you see later in the game. But for now, this queen has to move. It doesn't have that many squares, as you can see. All of this in the center. So it's all controlled by black, which is again why you should control the center. Like if a queen is stuck here, it's going to have to retreat to the edge of the board or back where it doesn't control as many squares, and it's not as good of a place to keep the queen. So the queen rotates to a4 to pin my knight potentially, to enable some sort of this with a pin to try and win a piece. So here I play the move knight takes e4. What it does is it comes with the tempo on this bishop from multiple different ways, and it pressures this. So it's a nice multi-purpose move. Let's say he takes this, and after takes, he trades this to stop any bishop takes and bishop e4 check ideas. He takes, after queen takes, this pawn isn't free because you have f5. If you just move, then this wins the queen. Like if you just do this, bishop check, attacks this and this. So he would have to play takes, in which case bishop d7 check. And you pick this up with a fork, which is kind of nuts. I believe that's not what I saw during the game. I probably saw something like bishop d5 attacking this. And if you move the king out of the way, I take. And if you go f3, I have f5 winning the piece. This is what I would have calculated during the game. I remember just seeing f5 and I'm like, okay, I'm winning a piece. This is good enough. Although the engine says you can play for more due to the weakness of this white king, since he hasn't developed any pieces over here to castle. He's been doing other things. Again, you shouldn't do active operations in the center before you've developed and castled your king. Otherwise, it's going to backfire on you, like you can see in these illustrative variations. I don't think taking with the queen is possible because you just lose a piece. I mean, no, and you can't castle like both of these ways. Like whatever, you have pressure, really good bishops. Queen can always come out. I can castle. I'm literally just up a piece. Not that it's terrible. So taking the knight on e4 is bad. I mean, you can try and take with the bishop, but like you've just created a bunch of weaknesses. Again, this is the same thing. It's just not good. You shouldn't do this for pretty much all the same reasons, although the concrete lines might not be the same. The strategic ideas and principles behind them stay the same. So he decides to take this first, and after takes, he just transposes into the line which we discussed with bishop takes, which is losing because of what I calculated, bishop d5, although in a different move order. He decided to play long castles in the game, giving up the piece, but going for this pin. Although, since he wasn't able to castle short to a relatively safer spot, and I mean also he's traded off this bishop, or lost it actually, so this is weak. but it would have been relatively safer compared to this open space. I'm able to go queen c5 check, okay? And this king has to step back onto the d file because if you block, this is just a free queen and it's GG's. So the king goes to d1, I mean d2, doesn't really matter. And then I was thinking of rook d8 check here, but it's actually better to go long castles check because this knight might need to move in the future, and the queen is pinning this knight to this king, which is slightly annoying, and this rook has pin here. So this is actually under a threat. So what you can do is unpin and counter check at the same time with long castles. A very useful move. Now if you notice, this king is getting hunted out because he castled to a safe place too late, and now all of black's mobilized pieces, you see this, I have all these pieces out, and he just has this and this out. All of black's mobilized pieces are going to be attacking. So he goes king e2, and now I find actually a kind of beautiful finish, if I do say so myself, not to toot my own horn, but bishop g2. It's nice because you thought I was going to take the rook, right? But no, bishop g2, the idea being to cut off these crucial squares for the king, and now he can't move anywhere, so rook here is actually just going to be a mate, right? For example, like some random move here. King has nowhere to go because you sealed out all the escape with bishop g2. He has to sack the queen, and you just take, and it's checkmate. So bishop g2 is a nice move. He decided to just give this spite check, I guess, or desperation. I just go f5. He goes queen e3, or queen f4, sorry. And then after rook here, he goes queen e3. And now I could take, which is completely winning, although queen c2 is just checkmate. So I feel like that's a nice finish, although it was made possible due to the fact that white, rather than developing, he kind of neglected that and played e4, trying to do something active in the center, although allowed this with tempo. And since I have more development and he has a weaker king, the tactics are going to be working out more in my favor, which is why knight takes e4 ended up working. And a bad tactical sequence played by white allowed bishop d5 or f5. f5 is stronger according to the engine, but bishop d5 gets the job done. He castled, but he castled too late and on the wrong side. Like, what is this? You shouldn't be castling into this weak of a place. But in some positions you can, but not this one, because takes rook here, bishop, queen c5 check, and this mate. Yep. I hope you learned something useful from this, and if there's one key takeaway I want you to learn is that you shouldn't be doing active operations in the center or like going forward. For example, like I know a lot of people like to just send this knight out on a journey with no support without developing everything else. Don't do that. You need all your pieces playing in the game. So what you need to do is develop. Of course, bishop g5, although it does develop, it gives up a pawn. So you should also make sure that you're not just autopiloting moves and that you're making sure not to give up material, although I didn't punish it. And stuff like this. So it takes, you don't want to be giving squares to your opponent like this. And even if you do, you need to make sure that you have some way to like not let them take advantage of that. For example, bishop f6 here. However, something like e4, not developing. Again, this time it's severe and you get punished for it in the form of this. And this was just a further blunder, bishop takes, because it allowed bishop d5 or f5, and then game was sealed. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that game, and make sure to include these principles into your own play. See you in the next one. Bye.